My name is Kathy Vandergrift. I'm a longtime member of the Christian Reformed Church with roots in the Midwest U.S. I have served at various levels of the denomination since moving to Canada. I also do research and advocacy on children's policy and abuse prevention. Those two come together in the following concerns. Implementing the Human Sexuality Report will do unnecessary harm for children. Jesus often centered children to show his followers how to live. Putting obstacles in the way of a child's development elicited some of his harshest judgments. He once said, for example, that it would be better to be thrown into the river with a millstone around one's neck than to be responsible for harming a child. The report's treatment of intersex children is an obstacle and needs serious revision. While this is a short section of the report, it reveals a major flaw for the whole report. On the other hand, if we do justice for these children, it will also lead to greater justice for all children. Intersex is a term that describes being born with sexual anatomy or features that do not fit the typical notions of male and female. An example is female external features and male internal organs. It includes a wide range of conditions from physical body parts to chromosomal makeup. Estimates are that about 2% of children, or 1 out of every 2,000 children, are born with some variation. That's about the same prevalence as red hair. The estimate is low because many are not identified, or families choose to keep it secret because of social stigma or feelings of shame. Secrecy and shame are major barriers to creating the conditions that would allow these children to fulfill and live out all their God-given gifts. The HSR report labels such children as disordered as a result of the fall. There is substantial evidence about the harm it does to label and treat children as disordered, deficient, second best. The term disordered, once used in medical circles, is being replaced with the term different as a result of growing evidence about the harms of labeling and treating children as deficient. Intersex children experience higher rates of bullying, low self-esteem, rejection, and suicide. Corrective surgery to make them look like preconceived notions of what girls and boys should be is often done before children can consent. It often has negative and lifelong impacts, such as painful scar tissue, nerve damage, loss of sexual sensation, barriers for sexual intimacy, and infertility. Sometimes parents are not fully informed about the impacts. Sometimes parents and surgeons give priority to conformity in spite of risks, thinking that will make their children's lives easier. Such surgery, which is not medically necessary, is now called intersex genital mutilation, similar to female genital mutilation, which is now widely recognized as a violation of women's rights. It is surprising that the HSR report uses outdated language and gives little attention to the well-established evidence of the negative impacts of labeling intersex children as disordered, nor does it seriously consider the harmful impacts of the treatment it recommends. The HSR report supports parents taking action to make intersex children align with either male or female types, including surgeries that are not medically necessary. In doing so, the report is also internally inconsistent. For in the section on gender dysphoria, it says the body should be considered determinative and young people should not seek to make changes to their bodies to align with their psychological or emotional sense of gender. In the case of intersex children, it says the body should be changed to conform to preconceived types. In one church, for example, A transgender child should be counseled against any treatment because the physical body should be seen as determinative. But a family with an intersex child would be encouraged to change the child's body. Increased knowledge about intersex children prompts us to rethink our assumptions about the meaning of male and female in Genesis 1 and 2. Just as learning that the earth goes around the sun changed our interpretations of other texts. As some theologians have stated, the references to male and female could be understood as common language at the time Genesis was written that would encompass variations, which were not known at that time. The range of variations in intersex children makes understanding them as a result of the fall less plausible than understanding them as variations in God's unfolding creation. The core gospel message does not require a rigid, narrow interpretation of male and female. It does require doing justice instead of putting obstacles in the way of God's children. If one asks what it means to do justice for such children, which is a core biblical principle, it would start with not doing unnecessary harm. If male and female are interpreted as more inclusive, rather than two distinct binary categories, intersex children can be accepted as they are, rather than treating them as disordered. I advocate for the well-being and rights of children. My advocacy is rooted in my Christian calling and my reformed thinking about life. That includes advocating for the rights of intersex children to not be subjected to surgeries that are not medically necessary without their consent. Some countries and organizations are working to prohibit such surgeries before a child can make an informed decision. In Canada, a court challenge is underway based on the rights and best interests of children. It draws on testimony of harms done by those with direct experience and those with expertise in child development. In the United States, leaders of children's health have been advocating for similar changes for some years. Members of the CRC should have been informed about this in the report. My conscience and integrity in my advocacy for children's rights compels me to plead with the CRC not to adopt this report as it is. Much more important than my integrity are the best interests of children, of any intersex children who come into contact with our church and children in our societies. The same concerns apply to children with other differences that do not fit traditional categories. As I see it, the CRC should be a champion for the rights of intersex children and work to change the conditions that cause them harm rather than harming them. I am confident that is what Jesus would do.